Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. We've got good news today. The Russian Black Sea Fleet just lost its 5th landing ship. The name of this ship was the Caesar Kunikov. Ukraine confirmed its destruction yesterday. This ship is now on the bottom of the Black Sea. And Ukraine did release the drone cam video. It's about 3 minutes long. I'll link it down below if you want to see it for yourself. But this is incredible, that Ukraine can now consistently build drone boats costing tens of thousands of dollars to sink Russian warships worth tens of millions of dollars. For those of you playing Black Sea Fleet Bingo at home, this is the Caesar Kunikov right here. You can cross it off your board. Let me know when you have bingo. So how is Ukraine doing this? And Ukraine is adapting fast, making modifications on these boats. But what's more important is the tactics. The tactics to target these ships is changing. Crimea warship sunk by a drone wolf pack. The wolf pack, or Wolfsrud Taktik in German, was a tactic of the Second World War in the Atlantic Ocean. So Ukraine used 7 drone boats, and each one of these drone boats had a different purpose. One to scout, one to distract, and then those that go in for the kill. So Russia made a lot of mistakes. This ship was pretty close to the coast of Crimea, and it wasn't moving. It was at a standstill, which allowed these drone boats to basically sneak up on it. And the ship was full of cargo. We don't know exactly what was on it, but I imagine repaired vehicles like tanks and APCs, and they're now on the bottom of the Black Sea. So of course, Russia's not going to acknowledge this, but they've got to do something. And they finally fired the Black Sea Fleet commander. This is according to Russian military bloggers. This is Admiral Sokolov, who died over 6 months ago. A British Storm Shadow cruise missile blew up the headquarters of the Black Sea Fleet, and Russia just pretended like he wasn't dead. They've been pretending like he's still alive for over half a year. So how are they going to fix this problem? All of their ships being destroyed? They just fired a dead guy. And it's reaching an absurd level of parody at this point. Here's a pro-Russian poster on social media, Matt Wallace, stating anyone who believes Ukraine can beat Russia is clinically insane, showing a picture of these 5 Russian warships. And this person got community noted. Of the 5 large surface vessels shown in this video, 4 of them have been sunk by Ukraine. The Moskva and then 3 landing ships. And because it's the internet, people had some fun on Valentine's Day. Sinking of Russian warship sparks wave of Valentine's Day memes. So let me share my favorites with you. This is the internet, and the internet remains undefeated. This one's pretty cute. The joke always is that these warships are being promoted as submarines. Lots of love for the Black Sea Fleet on the bottom of the Black Sea. I like this one. It's pretty simple. I'm sinking for you. Will you be my Valentine? And this person even wrote a poem. Roses are red, violets are blue. Kunikov is now on the sea floor along with its captain and crew. Once again, Russia failed to launch lifeboats to save the lives of their sailors, and rescue ships didn't get out there in time to save any of the crew. Those are the reports. Wow. This is good news. Ground-launched small-diameter bomb makes the combat debut in Ukraine. GLSDB is finally being used. Ukraine hasn't released any pictures or videos how they're being fired, if they're actually being fired from HIMARS launchers, or if there's a new special kind of truck. But the Russians are now getting hit by these things, and we have our first video of a Russian collecting some debris. Let me share a little bit of this clip with you. This is the gliding wing kit on the bomb. You can see this is what GLSDB looks like, and that is definitely GLSDB hitting Russian positions. We think this is the first video. This is drone video, and this was a Russian ammunition depot in Crimea. There could be more strikes by now. We just don't have any evidence of it. But the theory is, with GLSDB, Ukraine should be getting hundreds of these every month. Average that out per day, and about 5 or 6 of these should be fired on Russian positions within 150 kilometers of the front. Let's make it happen. Ukraine drone attack leaves Russian oil depot in flames. This happened in the Kursk region. And like I said in my last couple of videos, every update I give is going to be another drone attack on a Russian oil refinery or depot somewhere. This one's actually pretty close to the front lines, near Kharkiv, and it's just a very small one. I imagine this oil depot services the Russian military, so Ukraine's going to get them all. It's going to take weeks, it's going to take months, but I think by the end of this year, all these oil depots and refineries will be offline. Let's follow up on Tucker Carlson. He's still publishing content from his trip to Moscow. And this objectively is insane. Tucker is trying to make Russia look as good as possible. So in this clip, he went to a Russian grocery store and just was commenting how nice it was, how Russian grocery stores are better than American grocery stores. And the prices of food in Russia is so cheap. The problem with making this argument, the transactional value of your shopping bill, is it's relative to your income in that country. So yes, if Tucker Carlson goes to a grocery store in Moscow and buys fruits or vegetables or packaged goods, it might be cheaper than it is in the United States. But the average income of an American is much higher than a Russian. So here's the truth that Tucker won't tell you. Russians are currently spending over 30% of their take-home pay just on food, just on groceries to survive, whereas here in the United States, we're spending less than 10%. And Putin also is not happy with how the interview turned out. He had the opportunity to reflect on it. This is a Russian journalist asking him what he thought. And given the backlash on the internet, how the interview was boring and Putin just rambled about ancient history, this is what Putin has to say about Tucker Carlson. This is the reporter speaking first. Carlson was criticized from the beginning, even before the interview. After the interview, they blame him for supposedly not asking many difficult questions. Supposedly he was too soft on you, and you were too comfortable with him. Do you think you crushed the American journalists with your authority? Putin's now going to give his thoughts. I think that your Carlson is a dangerous person. When I say yours, I mean that he is a representative of your journalistic field. And this is why. Because speaking honestly, I actually thought he would conduct himself aggressively and would ask sharp questions. I wasn't just prepared for that, I wanted that because it would have given me an opportunity to respond just as sharp, which in my opinion would have added a certain specificity to our entire conversation. But he chose a different tactic. He tried to interrupt me several times, but surprisingly for a Western journalist, he actually turned out to be patient. He listened to my long dialogues, especially concerning history. He didn't give me a reason to do what I was ready for. So speaking frankly, I did not get full satisfaction out of his interview. He was following his plan, and he carried out his plan. So within the span of a minute, Putin contradicts himself. He states that Tucker Carlson allowed him to ramble, but also constantly interrupted him. If Putin wanted more difficult questions from a Western journalist, he could allow any legitimate Western journalist to interview him. Lots of people in the West would love to ask Putin the tough questions, but of course, that's not why Tucker was there, and that's not actually what Putin wanted. When we check in on the front lines, the city of Avdiivka, it's not looking great. The rumor is the Ukrainians are outnumbered 7-1, and Russia is committing all of their reserves to flood into the city. They've broken into the residential area coming from the north, and Ukraine's putting up a valiant defense. But they're outnumbered, and they're running out of ammunition. They desperately need more resources, more material from the Western allies. Which brings us to this security assistance package that was passed by the United States Senate, but the House of Representatives is now blocking it. U.S. carelessness over aid bill is costing Ukrainian lives. This is the goal of Speaker Mike Johnson. This is the goal of Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans, to kill this bill if they can. If they can't kill it, they're going to delay it or weaken it. Give Russia every opportunity to make progress on the battlefield. So Mike Johnson is saying he's going to reject this Senate bill, even though it passed with a supermajority. It was bipartisan. I'll play the clip. I really hate listening to this guy, but let me share with you 20 seconds of Speaker Johnson.
Much more has to be done, of course, to secure the border, and what the Senate produced this week is silent on that issue. Senator McConnell and I have spoken about this in frank sessions, and let me be clear here again this morning. The Republican-led House will not be jammed or forced into passing a foreign aid bill that was opposed by most Republican senators and does nothing to secure our own border.
Speaker Johnson doesn't want to secure the border because Donald Trump doesn't want to secure the border. James Langford of Oklahoma, this was a bipartisan Republican-led bill to secure the border. This failed because Donald Trump wanted it to fail. If this border security bill had passed, the southern border would be shut down right now. 0 people would be getting in. But here in America, we can't have nice things. So Speaker Johnson is going to use every Russian talking point to kill this bill. Not enough accountability. We don't want this to be another Afghanistan. Why are we helping when it's a lost cause anyways? We can't help Ukraine secure their border until we secure our border. These are all lies to kill this bill and help Russia win. But we've got good news. I didn't make this clear in my last video, and to my international audience, this doesn't make sense. But I was more concerned about the Senate. It's more difficult to pass this bill in the Senate because of the 60-vote filibuster requirement. Thankfully, we got 70 votes, a supermajority. Thank you to the Senate Republicans that did the right thing. The House is easier to manipulate, and it's getting worse for Republicans every single day. We just had a special election in the state of New York. This was to replace George Santos, who was super corrupt. And a Democrat won this seat that belonged to a Republican. So the House Democrats just got one more vote. I'm sure this guy supports Ukraine. And House Republicans keep dropping like flies. This is Tennessee House Republican Mark Greene announcing that he's not going to run for re-election. He's quitting Congress at the end of his term. In the long term, this is a bad thing. Mark Greene has been supportive of Ukraine. But in the short term, if we're going to get rid of Speaker Johnson, we're going to need 3 or 4 House Republicans to vote against him, to defy Donald Trump. And realistically, the only people who would do this are people who know their political careers are over. So my last update video, there was a House Republican from Washington, a House Republican from Wisconsin. We've now got this House Republican from Tennessee, all supporting Ukraine and announcing they're quitting Congress. These are votes to get this bill passed in the House. So here's a clip from the Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries being asked what's his plan to get this military aid package passed in the House.
When you discuss using every legislative tool possible, I know there's been a lot of talk about a potential discharge petition to get this to the House floor. But is there any concern that you might lose more Democrats on one side of this to try to get a discharge petition than Republicans would be willing to come over and sign on to it?
No. All options are on the table. We're going to utilize every available legislative tool. And what is clear is that there are more than 300 bipartisan votes in the House of Representatives to pass the national security bill today. More than 300 bipartisan votes. It's not too much to ask in America's national security.
So if Speaker Johnson just scheduled a simple up or down vote, it would get over 300 votes in the House. Almost every Democrat, and then close to a majority of House Republicans. It would get a supermajority. So the legislative tactic that everyone's talking about to get this bill passed is called a discharge petition. What the heck is a discharge petition? After a bill has been introduced and referred to a standing committee for 30 days, a member of the House can file a motion to have the bill discharged or released from consideration by the committee. In order to do this, a majority of the House, 218 members, must sign a petition. So Speaker Johnson, as the Speaker, sets the agenda. If he doesn't want to schedule a vote will never occur. How do you get around this? And there's only one way, and it's this discharge petition process. The problem is it sounds very long. Waiting for 30 days and then waiting several more days. A much faster option would just be to remove Speaker Johnson from the chair and then elect any other Republican that will schedule a vote. So what the Democrats are doing is they're willing to go either route. Removing Speaker Johnson would be faster, but if we can't find 4 House Republicans with the courage to do the right thing, then the Democrats are going to force a vote with a discharge petition, and this is going to take another month. So what's Speaker Johnson going to do to save his job and to prevent this Ukraine aid package from passing? And he's just going to send the House into recess. House Republicans to take a 2-week paid vacation amid a national security threat and another mass shooting. It's not Christmas, it's not New Year's, it's not Thanksgiving, it's not Easter. What justification does Speaker Johnson have for giving everyone in the House a 2-week paid vacation in February? And the obvious answer is he's just stalling for time, allowing Russia to change their tactics to apply pressure on American politicians, getting Donald Trump involved, calling members of the House and threatening them. This is just really sad and pathetic. Like, as an American, as a proud American who served his country, everything that Speaker Johnson is doing right now is just incredibly sad. And what's happening is all the national security and traditional Reagan Republicans are being purged by the party. The only people allowed to remain are MAGA toads, yes men for Donald Trump. And I have to share this clip. This is an unbelievable clip. UK Foreign Secretary David Cameron urges US Congress to vote for this Ukraine aid package. He's the Foreign Minister of the UK. This is appropriate to ask for Congress to support our NATO allies. So Marjorie Taylor Greene was asked about David Cameron making this statement. And if you haven't seen this clip, check this out.
Secretary David Cameron says that you should vote through funding for Ukraine. What do you say to that? I think he tried to compare us to Hitler also. And if that's the kind of language he wants to use, I really have nothing to say to him.
Well, he likened you to an appeaser to Hitler in not voting through funding for Ukraine. Are you an appeaser for Putin?
I think that I really don't care what David Cameron has to say. I think that's rude name-calling, and I don't appreciate that type of language. And David Cameron needs to worry about his own country, and frankly, he can kiss my ass.
But do you think Putin's the good guy in all this?
So David Cameron called MAGA Republicans fascist appeasers. And Marjorie Traitor Greene says we don't appreciate being called names. I don't think Marjorie knows what the word appeasement means. She wasn't compared to Hitler. She was compared to Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, who appeased Hitler in allowing Hitler to take Czechoslovakia. This is who has power in the House of Representatives in the Republican Party now. And this is hurting America. Of the assistance that's been given to Ukraine, this is money being spent in the United States. We give Ukraine old stuff we built in the 80s and 90s. We then allocate funds to build better, more modern stuff for ourselves here in the United States. The Department of Defense did an analysis where all this money was going. Marjorie Traitor Greene represents the state of Georgia. $31 million have gone to her state to manufacture military goods. This generates jobs. This generates economic activity. This makes America's military stronger. And MAGA Republicans are doing everything to kill this and help the Russians. Russia to launch nukes into space according to U.S. intel. This is breaking as of this morning. The White House is going to declassify some more information. Given that my job in the military was a nuclear and missile operations officer, I'm very interested to see this intelligence. I wanted to quick mention it, but I'm probably going to give my full thoughts on what Russia is doing, perhaps in a separate video this weekend. Short answer is Russia wants to put nukes in space to threaten American satellites. Are MAGA Republicans okay with this? We're going to get the stupid statements from Marjorie probably pretty soon. Good news for Ukraine. Canada announces $60 million to support Ukraine's future F-16 fleet. Thank you so much, Canada. Italy announced that they will help restore the Transfiguration Cathedral in Odessa. The Russians bombed this beautiful church. Italy is going to allocate €500,000 to repair the roof. Thank you so much, Italy. Final feel-good clip. I can't help myself. I have to share another video from Zarina Zabrisky, US-based journalist in the city of Kherson. Given that yesterday was Valentine's Day, I just want to share this clip of a Ukrainian vendor selling flowers on the streets of Kherson.
С Херсона покупают цветы для любимой.
Это прекрасно.
Замечательно.
Хризантема по 80. This is the ring that Tatiana's husband gave her today.
Меня зовут Николай. Мы из Херсона, мы не выезжали, мы не Херсон не покинули ни на минуту. Мы будем тут до последнего, мы Херсон не бросим. Мы будем работать, жить до последнего. Мы его не предадим никогда, потому что мы Херсон любим.
Как часто обстреливают сейчас?
Каждый день,
Сколько раз в день?
немерено. Ночью по 10, по 15, по 20 прилетов. И днем, и ночью. Мы не курим, мы не отдыхаем. И людям дарим добро, чтобы люди улыбались.
А страшно?
Конечно, страшно. Очень страшно. И все равно мы отсюда не уедем. Мы Херсон не бросим. Он наш любимый.
Happy Valentine's Day. Счастливого Валентина дня.
Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.